Sorry guys, looks like I'm gonna have to probably do some editing or do a two-part video. Um, so, talking about getting back on track. Um, Lost my train of thought now. Which story I was telling. It happens, it's life. Um, but, okay. So, when I got up, it was 5:30 in the morning in the dog trot. And I was gonna get up, handle the fire and everything, get it back going. But there was enough light in the cabin. I could tell there was someone or something standing by the fireplace. He had his arm just propped up on the fireplace and he was just watching. It wasn't a bad spirit. No, not at all. He was just being protective. Is all he was doing. He was just being protective because there were two of his kids in there and two grown women, my mom and another woman with her little son, her little boy. And he was just watching over us. I mean, it didn't feel bad. It didn't feel negative. I felt very comfortable and safe. Um, I mean, he was the sweetest ghost you could ever ask for. But later on that day, whenever I had mentioned to a couple of reenactors who, thanks to them, I got into ghost hunting and paranormal stuff. Um, they had asked me if later on that night I would be willing to help him with a ghost investigation inside the dog trot because they come to realize that this spirit only shows himself to females, which, okay, um, I said sure, why not. My mom was right outside the door. They were right outside the door waiting on me. But first, they put a stool in the middle of the room. They had me sit down there. They had started a recorder and set it on top of the fireplace where he stands. And they told me to just ask questions, leave a pause with a couple of minutes in between, give them enough time to answer. And it's like, okay, yeah, I can do that. So I'm sitting in there. I ask him, hi, how are you? And I tell him my name. And then I ask him, do you need help? I figured it's something to ask. I mean, he's a soldier. He could need help. He could have been badly wounded, something like that. Um, the best response after I sat in there for about an hour and a half. Um, they had told me that's a typical investigation for paranormal stuff. So I sat in there for about an hour and a half, and everyone was outside the door waiting on me and all that. This ghost wouldn't show himself to any other person that was staying in that cabin, and he showed himself to me, which I don't know why. But we only got one response after me sitting in there for an hour and a half, and it's audio. One of my buddies has it somewhere stashed away, but I will always remember that response. And it had nothing to relate to the questions I asked. Um, I asked, why are you here? Um, and his answer kind of responded, kind of connected to what I asked. He's like, to keep you safe. That was the best, best response I think a paranormal investigator, especially for a female, could ever ask for, to keep you safe. And we were all just wow. um so my last story, still at the Battle of Prairie Grove. Just when I'm it's not during that battle, it's during something that happened that's no longer it's still kind of goes on at the Prairie Grove, but not it doesn't go on at Prairie Grove anymore because we switch it up to just sitting around a campfire having different historical people there as first person of different, like General Blunt who fought there and just all that Hyman. Um, but what it used to be called, we used to do this around every Halloween. It used to be called Night at the Museum or Haunted Battlefield, and I was stationed at the Borden House, the big yellow house up on the hill there at the battlefield, and I was stationed there with my Civil War grandfather and a couple other guys that I call uncle and everything. I was stationed there with them, and I was there mainly as a nurse, as a country nurse. And I was stationed there with them, and we're just sitting there talking, visiting, and I had heard a weird noise come from inside the Borden house, and I had a little medical thing set up as soon as you walk in there. And every time we would hear a group coming, I would run in there, and the two of the guys would bring one guy in for me to take care of. And I was getting it set back up for the next group to come along, and I had to the I think it was to the left of me. Hold on. It was to the right of me. And I think no, the left. Sorry. And I had heard just like a simple tapping, just quick three little taps. And I thought, oh, it's one of the guys standing outside one of the windows on that side, just picking with me. So I go over to the windows and I'm looking at the windows, and other guys are there, and then I go and see where all the guys at, and they're just standing right outside the door, and they look at me like, hey, what's wrong? And I was like, oh, I heard tapping from this room, and I just thought you guys were messing with me. And they're like, no, we've been here the whole time. And so I decided to do a little ghost investigation. We got a 30-40 minute break before our next group came, and so I got everything set up, and so I still had about 30 minutes. So I asked one of my buddies for a voice recorder because we were going to go ahead and ghost hunt after the whole thing was over. And so I decided to go sit in the middle of the room where I heard the knocking come from, because I figured it's trying to get my attention. Something's trying to get my attention. And I get a couple of responses of it being, I asked him, "Are you Confederate or Union?" And he says I'm a Union officer. I was feeling very, unlike the previous story, I was feeling very uncomfortable, unwanted there. I didn't feel like I didn't want to be in that house because I was feeling like I was just getting really tired. So I decided to ask him one more question, and I asked him, do you want me here? And I didn't get a clear answer whether he wanted me there or not. The only things I got to that answer was flag, eagle, commander. Those are dad's video bombing me tonight. Those were the only answers I got from that. And then a short little while after, I remember, I started getting like lightheaded, and as I said, I felt unwanted, uncomfortable there. But last thing I remember is my Civil War grandfather coming in and carrying me out, basically, because he's like, you weren't making any sense. You just looked physically and emotionally drained. And I'm like, I don't know what happened. So we played the recorder back and we got those answers I told you guys. And he's like, then that's when he tells me, he's like, so our theory was right. This Union officer doesn't like anyone to be in that house. There are there are 3 other spirits in that house. There's a young woman, an elderly woman, and an elderly man. And those 3 only come out during the daytime, but this Union officer is very dominant at night. Very. He didn't like anyone to be in there, especially anyone in Confederate uniform. And that's what all my buddies was in that night, was Confederate uniform, and he didn't like it at all. I will not step foot in that house without someone with me. Even outside of the house, I feel uncomfortable and like it's not safe there. I really do. But to me, it's just history coming to life. They're still here. They just want their stories to be told. They just want to be heard, to be honest. A lot of them died in the most horrid way possible, and they just want to be heard. They want to be remembered, and it's just history coming to life, guys. That's all it is. But it's really just history coming to life, and there's nothing to be afraid of, and I learned that. But there is a time when if you all decide to go ghost hunting after hearing my stories and all that, be careful. Really do. Pray before and pray after. It's difficult. It is. Really do your research too before you go out and try ghost hunting. And that's what I did. I did my research. I looked up like special crystals and certain herbs you can use while you're out there doing it. And that night I had a protecting crystal and cleansing crystal on me, so I wasn't that badly affected. It's hard. It really is. Thank God I had friends like that were there and knew something was wrong when I wasn't answering them when they were yelling for me. But that is the end of this 2-parter for the ghost video. The first one was only a couple minutes. Reason being, my camera decided to act up and it kind of shut off. So this video is a 2-parter. Watch the beginning before this one. You guys know how it goes. But that's all for tonight. I might do a little video here after a while. I don't know yet. But like, comment, subscribe, hit the post notifications button, and I'll see you all later. Bye.